Kip, what's up, man? Good to see you. This is twice in 1 week. We're doing this in honor of Christmas and all the holidays. We've got to change our schedule around. But as I said, I think it was yesterday in an Instagram post, one of the greatest abilities a man has is his ability to adapt and evolve to life circumstances, whether self-inflicted or external circumstances. Our ability to adapt is crucial. So here we are adapting, having an Ask Me Anything on Thursday, which is very weird, but here we are nonetheless.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't enjoy this too much. Otherwise, Ryan's going to be like, you know what? Let's do 2 AMAs a week.
I'm not going to do that. You can mark my words right now. Three podcasts a week is enough for me right now. So I'm not going to do that. Kip, one thing I do want to say is you and I were having a personal conversation. As of this recording, it's 9:55.
No longer personal.
Well, I'm not going to get into the details, so it's still personal. But we were having a personal conversation for about 25 minutes before we hit record. And honestly, I wish we could have recorded it in one way so guys could see what it looks like when two men that care about each other talk to each other about some of the shit that we're dealing with. But the only reason I bring it up is not to disclose anything that we talked about, but how powerful it is when two guys are having a conversation about life's struggles. And they're not severe. They're not like what we talked about isn't life altering, isn't going to, crush or cripple any one of us. But it's still good to have a friend that you can talk with. And I only bring that up is because the Iron Council, which is our brotherhood, is open right now. And I'll tell you what, I've talked with thousands of men at this point who don't have anybody in their corner. They don't feel like they've got somebody that they can talk with, that can hold them accountable, a confidant, a brother, an accountability partner, and they're doing life alone. And they know they're leaving growth and progress on the table. The Iron Council is a great place for that. We operate in 10 to 15 man teams. And even deeper than that, I've seen guys who get together and they're inseparable. They're best friends now. They may live even across the country, but these guys are doing meetups. They're holding each other accountable. They're having these difficult conversations. They're doing Marco Polos and texts and stuff within the confines of our system. And it's exactly what we did for 25 minutes before we hit record. And this is what men need. So if anybody is interested, obviously I'm biased, but I would highly suggest something like the Iron Council, which is open now. You can check out at orderofman.com/Iron Council.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me sharing, because I'm not as biased, I have a list of names right here on my phone. And these 14 men were my battle team.
Echo, battle team Echo.
I love these guys so much more than just, oh, we're here to hold each other accountable. If Tony Urzi called me up and said, brother, this is all he would have to say. Brother, I need you here, I would be there. That's the level of relationship that gets formed in the Iron Council. That's the level of relationship that gets formed when men stand shoulder to shoulder and stand for each other to be powerful in their homes, in their work, and with one another. It's not superficial, you know what I mean? The Mickler show where we all come in and bow to Ryan, right? Like, this is a tribe of men that stand for greatness and stand for one another to show up powerfully. And that's the level of connection. And this isn't, I mean, this is transcendent. I'm sure you've gotten hundreds, if not maybe even thousands of messages over the years of men that have like, dude, my life is better. Like, I was in DC earlier this year. Guys I don't even know, right? Never even met these guys, but we did a little dinner when I was in Washington, DC. And one of the guys, I said, hey, dude, how's things going? Good, man. I'm like, how long you been in the Iron Council? He's like, it's been 2 years. I'm like, awesome. How's it serving you? My life has changed. Dude, I was flipping. I wasn't really buckling down, getting things done. I've recently graduated. I'm proposing to my wife. Job's going great. Like, and most importantly, and don't get me wrong, those things are important, but most importantly, he has brothers that he can have powerful conversations with. And he's getting after it in life. Man, so powerful.
That's awesome, man. That's all. I love to hear. Man, I have people like, I had a guy walk up to me in the airport 2 weeks ago when I got back from a hunt. I was in baggage claim. He's like, "Hey, are you Ryan Mickler?" I said, "Yeah." He said, I just want to tell you, I really appreciate what you're doing. Um, I've lost 50 pounds. No, excuse me, 80 pounds in the last year. And I'm working out with my daughter. Now she's getting in shape and she's building her confidence. He stopped drinking 5 months ago. This is amazing. These are the kind of things that happen when you have a brotherhood. So yeah, I when I promote it, I almost feel like I'm discounting it, but if you have a resource available, then you got to share it. So orderman.com/Iron Council. And then on another note, in January, this is the only other announcement I have. Come January 1st, I'm launching a new podcast called The Mickler Show, where everybody bows down to me.
Awesome.
Because I kind of like that idea.
I need a little confidence build, so we're gonna make a show just about me. Actually,
that's right. That's unfortunate, but a lot of these guys in the quote unquote men's space, that's what they do. They build this organization around this central figurehead, and everybody bows down and worships his way of doing it and his system, and that's the antithesis of what we're doing. Yes, we have a system, but it's been proven to work for thousands and thousands of men. And we take obviously feedback and growth opportunities seriously. And we look at what's going to be best for the whole, not just for me as the head of this organization.
Yeah. It's amazing what type of effectiveness shows up when your intent is pure.
Mm-hmm.
And based upon how you've showed up with Order of Man and Iron Council, I don't doubt your intention. Nor does anybody else.
Yeah, I hope so.
They don't. And it works. That's why.
Cool, right, man. Well, let's get to some questions today.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to field questions from our Iron Council. Obviously, once again, orderman.com/Iron Council to join us. It's going to be open until January
7th.
So join us, enroll now, but until January 7th, we're open for enrollment. All right, Joshua Collins. In light of all my questions lately about vision and non-negotiables, and there's a lot of this in the Iron Council, right? About visions and goal setting as we come into the new year. What are some goals both of you have set for next year for yourselves to help you accomplish that vision? One of my goals involves my health. I'm going to get off my blood pressure medicine, which means I need to lose weight, continue to improve my diet, and keep up a good workout routine.
Yeah, with that, I would say, why is that important? Obviously, being healthy, being fit, being strong is important, but is there an emotionally charged reason behind getting off your blood pressure medication? Maybe it's playing and being more involved with your kids, or being around longer for your wife and your family, or serving in your community in some capacity, or just feeling better about yourself. But the vision is really about why is this so important to me? I could say I want to pull 500 pounds on a deadlift, and I could do that, but why is that so important? Is that really the metric of success? Or I want to make $100,000 more in 2024 than I made in 2023. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's no problem. But is that really the metric? Is that the underlying reason that you're doing that? I don't think it is. There's something greater than pulling 500 pounds that's drawing you to that. Maybe it's you want to look good. Maybe it's you want to be capable. Maybe it's you just want to feel some more confidence in yourself and how you show up and who you are. But there's something deeper there. And I think that's the power of the vision. A lot of my vision revolves around, since we're answering this question, revolves around my relationship with my children and being fully present. I haven't been present throughout their lives. For a large part of it. And then I had a gap there where I really wasn't present. And the relationship I have with my children is probably at this stage closer and greater than it's ever been since they've been with me. And I want to continue that, which means that I'm going to be continuing to coach their practices and their sports, that we're going to be able to have conversations, that we're going to spend time together, quality time together. And then I'm carving out time to be able to engage them in a way that's significant and meaningful to them, not to me, to them. That's the most important thing. Yeah. The other component of my vision is, from a professional standpoint, I want to become the premier podcast for men. Podcast, resources, information, insight. We've been there in the past, and there's been a lot of people who have entered the space, and there's a lot of people who are doing wonderful and great things, but we need to continue to improve our game so that we can present the best resources in the best light possible, in the best way possible. Because I see a lot of guys out there who are doing similar things that I don't think are serving men the way they need to be served. And I want to do that. So that's the vision I have from a professional standpoint. One of the ways that we're going to do that is we're doing events again in 2024, including our main event in the fall, our uprising event, which has been 4 or 5 years since we did one. I know you're excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. They're the best.
That's going to be in the spring here in Southern Utah. And then you talked about Tony Urzy. I'm talking with Tony Urzy about doing a late summer men's annual summit. And I'm not talking about bringing 100 guys in. I'm talking about getting to the point where we can bring nearly 1,000 men in, all standing shoulder to shoulder. We are going to become the premier source of inspiration, motivation, resources, framework, network for men in 2024.
I love it. I love it, man. I don't have anything to add, to be honest with you. We're being cut from the same cloth right now, because my thought right now is presence. Presence with my kids, my family, and presence with those I work with. That's another element of this too, where I feel that far too often I'm seeing people as obstacles or just a worker. And I literally shut off 3 messages this morning to 3 people. And I said, my question to them was, ultimately, what does next year look like from a dream perspective? What's the ideal state of where you want to be the following year? Not so I can manipulate them, right? So I can make that possible for them. Because if I'm not doing that as a leader, making sure that they're walking away like, man, I am better off now. I am now set up to succeed in life, that I'm failing in that role. And not to get all mushy, but like, and it's kind of funny, but there's a really seriousness to this, is my whole family's sick, by the way. And I'm like, oh man, please get better before Christmas, because this has been a rough week. They're all homesick. Before we go to bed, we ask each kid, we say, what was a win today? What was a good part about your day? And we used to say what was a bad part. And then I'm like, no, I don't like that. So now we say, what was a lesson learned today?
I like that.
And the lesson learned was the thing that was bad. And then they have to articulate, right? How do they learn from it, right?
It's a reframing. I like it.
Yeah. And anyhow, we get to the 5-year-old, Koa, and we go, how was your day? And he goes, today was the best day ever. And I'm like, he's sick all day, right? and he's like, and no bad things today. And I'm like, awesome, buddy. I'm like, why was today such a great day? And he's like, because no one was mean to me. Everyone was really nice to me. And we all giggle and laugh a little bit. And then I'm like, oh man, you know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, this kid, dad yelled at me, dad's mean to me. And it doesn't matter whether I'm mad or whether I'm being mean or not. His interpretation is what?
Right. That you were being mean.
That I'm being mean. That I don't see him fully. That I don't appreciate him and love him fully, period. So man, I got to make some serious pivots. So he sees me cleaning the room with him as love, not me criticizing him and other things like that. And so there's my rude awakening, and that's going to make it on my battle plan, obviously, in January.
I like that. I like that. When you talk about the importance of presence, I did see one question, and I don't know if it's in the Iron Council or in Facebook, but somebody asked about anxiety, having an anxiety attack, or can we go to that question? Just fast forward to that question, because I think there's some things we could talk about here.
Yeah. Mr. Ross had that question on Facebook. When dealing with anxiety or an attack, of what skills do you use to get past the episode and move forward?
Yeah. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I actually had an anxiety or a panic attack. I don't know what the difference is, but
and if I have to provide this value really quick so you guys can understand the timeline. It's the AMA episode where Ryan seemed drugged.
Yeah, after, right?
And completely out of it. It's that episode. Just so you know.
Somebody asked me, actually, a few people asked me, they're like, were you drunk? I'm like, in a way, yeah, I was, yeah, on prescription medication. Yeah, I had an anxiety attack and I had never experienced that before. A lot of what was going on in my life became very overwhelming and um emotionally maybe or physically, mentally unmanageable. And my heart started to race. I had this headache. I felt uneasy. I felt lightheaded. And I was driving my kids. I was picking my second son up from football practice, and I thought, like I don't want to make dinner tonight. I'm not feeling it, so we're gonna go through the Jimmy John's line. And I just about got in line, and I remember thinking, I better not get in line because if I need to bail and somebody gets behind me, there's no way for me to get out of this line. So before I pulled into line, I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I can't. Something's going on. This is getting serious. So I called their mom and I said, hey, look, here's the situation. Can I drop the kids off? And she said, yeah, drop the kids off. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather too, so I must be going around. But yeah, I went to the ER and told the doc what was going on. And I was pretty aware and pretty sure that it was an anxiety or a panic attack. Like I didn't think I was having a heart attack necessarily, although there were very similar symptoms. And because I'm healthy, didn't seem to be a problem. So he's like, yeah, I think that's what's going on. The greatest thing I can tell you for a tactic, since Bob was asking about this, for a tactic on how to keep yourself from these circumstances is avoiding overwhelm. We are constantly inundated and bombarded with stimulus and marketing, and we have to buy all the Christmas presents for every single person on the planet. And you've got these duties and responsibilities and obligations at work, and then your wife wants you to do things around the house, and then your kids need your attention, and then you have your own hobbies and activities and interests that you want to be involved in. And if you don't go to the gym, you feel guilty about it. And there's so much. And what I realized as a 42-year-old man is that I can't just burn the candle at both ends and expect that my body can keep up with my mind. Yeah. And I'm working to make sure that that's the case, that I can physically keep up, but it's become apparent that I can't. And part of that is because I really, really find value in being a man of value, which is that I do want to serve. I do want to add value. I do want to contribute. I do want to take on tasks and duties and responsibilities. I do want to be a member of all of the charitable boards that I could be a member of. And I just can't do it. I can't physically, I cannot do it. And so the tactic is to prune, to eliminate, to reduce. And that allows you to go all in on the things that are important. And it has helped me avoid becoming overwhelmed and burdened by things that are really good that I wish I could do. But in my absence, other people can step in and fill those voids. I don't feel the need to make every problem my problem, just the problems that I have identified as being important to me. So I've really spent the last 4 weeks eliminating, delegating, and considering what I should be doing versus what I don't actually need to be doing. That's been really helpful for me.
Dude, the book Essentialism really brought this to bear for me. Like that all things have energy. Like literally right now, it was funny when I first got an executive assistant. She's like, "What's all the things?" We met for hours going over the things, all the things that are in my head that we need to do. And I'm like, holy crap, there's a price of that. There's a price of all the things in my head right now that I know that are in my garage that we haven't used for over a year, the things that need to be put away. Like that all takes energy. And for guys that might be listening to this and go, oh, no, I maintain my schedule really good and I jump across. It's not about scheduling of time. It's scheduling of your energy. And if I use up all my energy and I come home at 6 p.m. and it's zero, that's what we're talking about. Because when it's zero, then I'm not serving those I love. Not if I didn't manage and give them enough of me to be effective in that realm.
Yeah.
And so it's not just time, it's how we show up. And a lot of that comes back to the energy that we have and reserving some of that for the higher priority items.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different applicable lessons to this. One that I've thought about is, as Christmas gifts come in from Amazon, I could wait and do them all at once at the end, right before Christmas. And I know I'm going to be pissed off, stressed out,
For
bothered,
3 a.m. in the morning, wrapping
irritable.
boxes.
Yeah. And what I did this year is, as a gift comes in, I wrap it right then and there, one gift at a time. Maybe it's not as efficient from a time perspective, like you're saying,
Yeah.
but from an energy perspective, because I know come December 24th, I'm not stressed. If there's little ears listening, turn the show off right now, guys. Okay. If there's little ears listening, turn the show off right now for about 10 seconds. Just pause it or mute it for 10 seconds. Again, I'm going to say this one last time. Little ears listening, mute this for about 10 or 15 seconds. Okay. I don't need to play Santa Claus at night, staying up till 1 a.m. because Santa's work is already done, because I did it as it came. And I knew that through past experience that I don't want to stay up for 3 or 4 additional hours putting together scooters and bikes and tables and all this stuff. Totally. So manage your time effectively. But I like what you said, manage your energy effectively.
Well, and what's funny about it, to use your gift wrapping as an example, if it's piling up, I'm burning energy on it. Up leading up to the thing, because I'm stressed out about it. I'm thinking about it every day going, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this, got to do this. Right. And so anything that we procrastinate, and I would even throw like integrity into this subject, areas that we're out of integrity, it eats up energy because you're living with it. Do you remember the old church posters when we were kids? Like they were
like the LDS church posters. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Inspirational posters. Do you remember the one? There's one where and it was a great illustration, but it was this backpack and it was full of bricks. And it was by a church leader's door. And the phrase was around repentance. Let it go. Right? Because when we don't repent or restore our integrity, is that another way? Or we're holding on to resentment and we're not forgiving people, that's just a brick in the backpack that we're carrying around with us. Right. And so some of that energy is time, some of it is procrastination. And then there's like, do you have a heart at war? Is there things unresolved in life? And if anything's unresolved, that's eating up energy.
Yeah. For sure. It's funny you were talking about bricks in the backpack years ago. This was probably 6-7 years ago. I did a hike and an overnight camp out with some of our young men in the community. And we did the first half of the hike in the afternoon, and then we camped out, and then the next half was going to be in the morning. Well, the next morning we wake up early and we get going, and I put my bag on and I start rucking, and I'm like, this feels heavy. Why does this feel so heavy? I'm like, I don't know. I just kept going. And then I get like, I don't know, maybe half a mile or a mile. I'm like, this is heavy. What's going on? And all the boys are laughing. And I'm like, okay, I know what's happening here. So I set my bag down and I pull out all my stuff. They had put big rocks in my bag.
I love that.
It's unnecessary. There's no purpose for the rocks, right? Yeah. And they were joking with me, and it's fun. It's fun. Like, it's good. It's wholesome. I'll say it that way. It's wholesome. But there's no purpose to carrying that rock around. That does not serve me at all. I can't start a fire with it. I can't eat it. I can't stay warm with it. And so you take the rocks out, and I did the last half of the thing. I'm like, this actually feels pretty light. I can manage this. But that's life, isn't it? We carry around these unnecessary rocks or bricks, like you're saying, that you don't need to carry. Just set it down and get rid of it. So you can
take them out and chuck them at the scouts.
That's right. Well, there were some words shared. We'll say it that way. There were some words shared.
That's super clever. That's very funny that they did that. I love that. I love those kids. Whoever you are, kids, I love you guys.
They're not kids anymore. I ran into one of them. He's a young man. He just got back from his mission. He's working hard. I'm like, dang, he's taller and bigger than me. I'm like, this is weird. They're not kids anymore.
Yeah, because you ran into him at the store the other day. Is that the guy who you slashed his tire?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but you know who you are.
All right, Derek Gordon. We all go through really hard things in life, divorce, loss of a loved one, or lesser things like disappointment. We tell ourselves, this isn't what I thought life would be like. So you have focused loss, or you have to face loss, change, and divorce, and have these things drawn you towards. Do these things draw you towards or away from God, and why? And when will we see the Be a Man shirt in the Order of Man store? And I'm assuming he's talking about the testosterone shirt, but
yeah, the testosterone builder.
Yeah.
I'll answer it this way. You get to decide.
I think it's different for all of us.
Yeah, you get to decide. And it is a decision. You know, I've seen people go through horrific life circumstances where they decide that this isn't something that's happening to them, that God isn't punishing them or chastising them for something that they did. It's just part of life, and it's something that we can grow through, and they use it as a catalyst for growth and improvement to draw closer to him and his message and sharing the gospel. And I've seen other people take very similar, if not identical circumstances and curse God and become atheists because they no longer believe in God, because God would never allow this to happen if there was a true God. And they self-destruct and they go down a horrible and negative path. And then, of course, there's the greater amount of people that are somewhere in between, which is where I am. My negative circumstances don't convince me that God isn't real. And I wish I could tell you that I do draw closer to God in those moments. And sometimes I do. My prayers get a little bit more reverent, a little bit more serious. My reading of the Bible increases. My church attendance rises, you know, in those desperate times. But I never look at a negative circumstance and knock on wood. Fortunately, I haven't been in such a negative circumstance that I would doubt my faith, that I would doubt that God exists. I think God exists. And it's rough when you hear people who go through horrific, way harder things than I've ever gone through. And they say things like, well, God, if there was a God, he would never allow this to happen. We talked about this earlier. This is free agency. Like God can't, I mean, he can, but he does not interject in your ability to choose and decide. And that means that some horrible, horrible things are going to happen to you and people around you. And that's outside of our control. I don't believe that means God doesn't exist. I think it means that he has to be able to allow free agency to take place for individuals and for those who would do harm towards you, which is horrible, but it has to happen that way. So I would say, from a pragmatic approach, be aware of that and know that people have agency, know that people are going to victimize you, that they want to make you a prey and a victim to whatever their plan is, and train and plan accordingly so you don't find yourself in those situations. And when certain things happen to you, decide. It's framing. Did this happen to me? And is God against me? Or is there no God and the world is against me? Or what can I learn from this? And how can I grow? And how can I develop? And how might the gospel lead me towards a better path in light of the circumstances I'm dealing with?
Yeah. For me, specifically, if he's asking that question, I'm drawn towards hope. And that's found through the belief of God. So when life gets tough, I get humbled. And I find hope in that messaging of that even my mistakes, that I don't have to live with them forever. And that idea of repentance. And ironically enough, if you don't mind me, a little bit of a correlation, repentance is the process of learning. That's all that it is. You could literally reframe the repentance process to the process of learning. Ironically enough, the same exact process of taking ownership, because there's no growth without self-evaluation of our part in it. And so for me, it humbles me. And if you think about the messaging of, at least in the Christian religion, it's a message of hope. And so we can embrace that, or we can look to be a victim of things and feel like things are being acted upon us. So, but for me, it's usually draws me closer. Luckily.
I like this. Yeah, fortunately. Yeah. I like this concept of hope. I wrote down here as you were talking, hope versus despair. And in parentheses, I wrote down nihilism Because I think nihilism is the antithesis. It's the opposite of hope. Hope means that there's something that you're striving towards because you know if you do, then things will get better. Nihilism is believing that whatever life has for you, it's meaningless. There's no significance, there's no meaning behind it, there's nothing you can do. And that is a loss of hope. And so when you say it drives me closer to hope, good. What's the alternative? Nihilism. And how is that going to serve you? How is tossing your hands in the air and believing that nothing happens for a reason, and everything and everyone is out to get you, and there's no redemption from the circumstances you could be dealing with? Well, is that going to lead you to progress and growth and action to improve your life? Of course not. So we have to reject the concept of nihilism and move towards hope, whether it's through Christ or through the universe or the muse or however you choose to look at it. There has to be some level of hope that if you do something, your life will get better. And we know that to be true. We know that to be true.
Yeah. Craig, Kyle, over the last year, I've leveled up a lot, but I've reached a point where finding direction to do it again, to continue my growth, has gotten difficult. I'm having a hard time figuring out what my next focus should be. My question is, what advice do you have for continuing that upward momentum and developing a path in a new and unknown territory?
So for me, sometimes there's these little small cues that come to me that are really, really easy to overlook.
And of like, what's the next step? Like these little cues of direction.
Little small things. Like somebody might come into my life and introduce a concept that I'm like, oh, I never really thought about that, but that sounds interesting. Or I have a conversation with somebody and they bring something up and a little part of me kind of perks up and is intrigued and fascinated by what they might be sharing. And it's really easy to overlook those things because they don't seem grand and significant. If I came and slapped you in the face, you'd be pretty upset and punch me back probably. Right. But if I came and I just made some underhanded comments towards you that demeaned your performance, you probably wouldn't slap me back, but you'd allow that to happen to a degree.
Yeah.
And so the point that I'm making here is that when it's small like that, sometimes it's just easy to overlook and not really consider that this could be a directional change in your life. So what I would suggest to you is that if you have these little moments in time where somebody shares something that could be fascinating and intriguing, then go do it, even if it seems irrelevant. I had a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago talking about skydiving. I've never been skydiving. That's always been intriguing to me. I don't like planes particularly. I don't like heights particularly, but I'm like, I should do that. Okay. So we're going to go do it. Right. So where does that lead? I don't know. Maybe my death, maybe it doesn't, maybe it turns to nothing. I don't really know, but I'm willing to explore it. When I started a previous podcast called Wealth Anatomy, where we focused on helping medical professionals with their financial services, I didn't do it
Ryan's
thinking about
mom only listened to, by the way.
That's right. Yeah. And one dentist that bought some disability insurance from me. I didn't go into it thinking that 10 years later, we'd have this global movement called Order of Man, and we'd be impacting hundreds of thousands of men across the planet.
But that was the little thing.
That was a little thing. It was like, hey, this could be cool. And so I went online or Best Buy or wherever I did, and I bought a $100 Blue Yeti microphone and I hit record. And here we are a decade later doing tremendous things because it was something that was kind of interesting and maybe I should try it. I actually hired a guy and I paid him, I think I paid him a couple $100 to do some consulting for me on how to do new digital marketing. That was 10 years ago. Look where we are now because I was willing to just take a little bit of a step into the unknown. So if you feel like you're plateauing, and I've been there, and you're getting complacent, then maybe you ought to start looking not necessarily for something different. There might be something in the current vein that you haven't explored because you've written it off as unimportant or insignificant or meaningless. And it might be, but you owe it to yourself to explore it and to see what comes of it.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think it's just by chance that those things show up, or if you don't mind me asking, or for you, do you see those little things as divine in nature.
That's divine. With my faith, my path is preordained. Now, some people would say, well, you're talking about free agency. Doesn't that take away your free agency? Sam Harris would make this argument. Sam Harris is wrong. You know why? Because I don't know my destiny. God does. If I knew my destiny, my free will would be diminished.
Yeah.
But I don't. And so it's a lot like those choose your own adventure books when we were kids. The script is already written. It's already written. Without whichever path you choose, the book is already written. Now, all that's left is which path do you take? And yeah, he knows what path you're going to take. It's preordained. But that doesn't diminish your free will because we still have the opportunity in moments to make decisions about which path we choose. So I think it is preordained. I think it is divine intervention. And I believe that God places these things before us, but it's up to us to act upon that. That's why I really love the scripture that talks about faith without works as being dead. There is no faith without your ability to move and to take action. That's not faith. If you really believed, then you would apply. And if you're not willing to apply, then you don't really believe, or as we talked about earlier, you have no hope.
Yeah. Thanks for your willingness to share that. Drew Sands, I think, how do you think about annual planning, revenue goal, health goal? Do you do it for the year and then break down each quarter or something different?
Yeah, I think I've beat a dead horse on this one. I mean, yeah, I have some annual goals about growth and things. And sometimes there's projects that last outside of a 12-week window. So I'll consider those. And then what I'll do is I'll break them down into 12-week objectives. That's it. So if I have for example, a revenue goal of creating $100,000 of additional revenue in 2024 over 2023, then that essentially means that I need to make 25,000 more a quarter, which equates to roughly a little over $8,000 a month. So what can I do this month every single day that will produce $8,000, $25,000 of revenue, which will gradually and eventually lead to $100,000 of additional revenue this year? That's it. So if I have a long-term goal, I break it into quarterly goals and objectives, and then I work backwards into the tactics that will complete that.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a soft way of looking at this just recently. Who is the author that had Goggins live with him? Super funny guy. Has
Jesse Itzler. Yeah, Jesse Itzler. Jesse.
So I was listening to him, this is probably a few months ago, and he made a point that every year he does some physical challenge that's like epic in his mind, like just a crazy thing. And then an adventure. And then there's like something else. And I really like that, right? Because I think for me, I grind, right? It's like, 12 weeks, blah, 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 structured, stability, blah, blah, blah. Oh, next 12 weeks. But there's some refreshingness to go, all right, going to 2024. What's going to be the thing? What's that adventure thing as a family that we're going to do that we've always wanted to do? And then what's that epic physical challenge? And what's this major area I want to level up? Okay, now, because it in essence, that sounds really appealing to me, right? To look back at over the year and go, oh, that was the year I did these things, these amazing things. And if we're too narrow focused, we may not even tackle the exciting, if that makes sense. So illogical with the money and that kind of stuff. But like, I even say like, what's going to stand out? What are you about? What's the breakthrough? And maybe identify the breakthrough and then break that down too.
Yeah. I mean, I have a goal in 2024 in October to run a marathon, but I'm not really training for my marathon today. But inside the Iron Council, we're on nutrition, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm down about a little over 7 pounds for the month of December already.
Yeah.
And awesome. I'm training about 5 to 6 days per week. And when I say training, I'm talking about actual training, but I actually will go on hikes and other things, even on my quote unquote days off. And I'm dialed in, probably unlike I've ever been before. So is that part of the marathon training? Yeah, absolutely. It just happens to be this quarter of marathon training. And then as I get closer, and I do 2 runs per week usually, but we'll do more running as I get closer and as I get into that 12-week realm of getting ready for the actual marathon. But everything else I'm doing supports that vision. It supports that annual objective, even though I'm not actively working on that hyper-focused thing today and currently. It supports the mission.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you say October?
October, yeah.
So are you running St. George then? I
Yeah,
think
St.
St.
George
George is in
Marathon.
October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That's awesome. That was my first marathon, was the St. George.
Ugh.
I know. Good luck.
Next question.
Right. Yeah, next question. And our last question, Tim Larson. I've asked this in the men of the Iron Council and received some great feedback, but wanted to have your take as it relates to your relationship as well. Gentlemen, I need your help. My marriage is good, but I want to be great. I've changed drastically for the better over the last year, but I still need to true up in this area of my life. Q1 Battle Plan Connection Quadrant is all about my wife and improving our communication and connection. What are some goals that I should be making as a priority in order to communicate and connect more effectively with my wife? Any book recommendations, date ideas, unique gestures to show I love her and more each day?
Yeah. So let me say this first. Somebody had posted in the Facebook group the other day, and they said if somebody hasn't like accomplished what you have, then that disqualifies them from giving advice.
Oh, I thought there's a similar question in the Facebook about
was there
marriage like this? Yeah. I thought you were going to bring that up.
No, a different one. And look, I mean, I've been pretty vocal about my marriage or past marriage, and we were married for 18 years. And so some people would say, well, you went through this divorce, so you're no longer qualified. That's not true. Like, I know what was working. I was married for 18 years. I knew
and you learned what didn't work.
That's right. So I think it's not whether or not they have or are. I think it's, are they being honest about it? And I'll be really honest about it with you. And I've been honest about what works and what doesn't, and what went well and where things broke down. And if I were to do it over again, and at some point in my life, I definitely will. I'm 42 years old. Like, marriage is in my cards, right? So what I would do, and what I did do when the marriage was working, is that I made her a priority and I listened to her. I can give you all sorts of dates, ideas, and all this kind of thing. Yeah, that's fine. And I can give you some ideas, and maybe it gets the creative juices flowing, but just listen to her. What does she talk about? What is she interested in? What does she get excited about? What motivates her? What inspires her? What pisses her off? What does she not like? What is she upset about? Man, the more that you can get present and turn off the dang phone, turn off the distractions, carve out time that you're not having, 3, 4, 5 kids bouncing around all over you while you're trying to talk with your wife, or the more that you can just get present physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually with her, then you actually have the margin to listen to what she's into. Is she a words of affirmation person where all you have to do is, hey, hon, you look great today. Hey, hon, thanks for making dinner. This was amazing. Hey, tell me about work. Oh, you got recognized for that one thing. Awesome. Way to go. That's a words of affirmation. A physical touch person is walking up behind her and giving her a slap on the butt, or touching the small of her back, or surprising her with a kiss. A quality time is getting a babysitter for the kids and going on a hike or a walk. A gifts is something small, like a note, or you come back from a trip and you get her a t-shirt from where you came from because she's a gift person, and that's how she receives love. I think I'm missing one in there. Acts of service means you cook dinner for her. Hey, hon, you know what? I know you've had a long day. It's been busy with the kids or in work or whatever the situation is. I actually, on the way home, I bought some steaks and went to the grocery store, and I'm going to cook dinner for you and the kids tonight. Or when you're done with dinner, maybe she already cooked it. Maybe you get your ass up and you go do the dishes. Yeah. Like that's it. Like, and that's from Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages. You ask about good books. I don't know what your wife is. I don't know what she responds to. You do. And so figure out what she responds to. And if you don't know, ask her how she feels love. Hey, hon, do you like when I say I love you? What does that mean to you? And she's like, we say it all the time. I know it's not that big a deal. And she might not be a words of affirmation person. I tend to be a words of affirmation. If a romantic interest tells me that she loves me, or that she's proud of me, or she really likes being around me because of how she feels. That speaks to me. That and physical touch. Those are my two.
Yep.
So if somebody does that, I'm all theirs. I'm all in. And if I can figure out what hers are, then she's going to be all in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key is you got to ask, and you can even do the 5 love language survey, have her fill it out and help identify that. But most importantly, like to add on to that idea of giving her feedback is, hey, what is our marriage looking perfect? What does that look like? Oh, us getting along. Okay. What does that
What does
look
that
like?
mean? Yeah.
What does that look like today? Right. And really like sit with it. The other thing I want to call out too is the number one thing I think will block us, or Tim, all of us really, from showing up powerfully is we got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. Because so often it's about us, right? Oh, I had a bad day and this and this and this. It's about what we're not getting. And we fall into this idea of like, she needs to do that first. You got to let go of that stuff and actually make them the priority. And I'm not saying like lose yourself and your world is her. And you know what I mean? You don't have self-confidence. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though, is you got to get out of your own way. And if that marriage is important, then you need to make it important, regardless of how your day went.
That's what I wrote down right here, Kip, as you were talking, even before you said it, is the pitfall that I fell into, I believe, one of them anyways, is making other things more important than her.
Yeah.
So I would, if I told her I was going to be done at work at 5, I'd be done at work at 5:30. What does that mean? That means whatever I was doing was more important than my commitment to her.
Yeah. And you're inconsistent. Now you're untrustworthy. You're unreliable. I mean, geez.
Yeah. You do that enough, man. Obviously drinking, and I would drink in the driveway. If my family's inside, I would go to the convenience store and get drunk in the driveway. My family's all inside. What does that mean? It means that me drinking in the driveway by myself is more important than being there with the family. There were nights where I was even passed out, and I couldn't, plenty of nights where I couldn't even tuck the kids into bed, and she had to tuck the kids into bed. So what did that mean to her and the kids? That they were unimportant relative to me being drunk. The things that are important to us, we focus on. And it doesn't mean you need to give her all the attention and shower down all of your praises. But man, what would it look like if at lunch you sent out a text, if you never have done that, or a call, or you sent her a bouquet of flowers, or you left a little note as you walked out, or you recorded a quick little video and said, hey, hon, I'm super busy today. I'm back to back to back to back, because I told you my schedule, but I had 2 minutes and I just thought I'd tell you that I love you. I'm thinking about you. Can't wait to see you tonight. I'm going to get some steaks on the way home. I hope your day's going great. Even in the midst of a busy schedule, it shows that she's important, that she's a priority, that you actually carved out 60 seconds to send a video. It's small, but it's not insignificant.
Yeah. And that one thing I heard is like, how many guys probably heard just what you said? I was thinking this is like, well, Ryan, I do think about those things.
Yeah. Then you need to,
but we don't communicate it.
Yeah.
We don't communicate it, right? You may think she's amazing. You may think she's lovely. You may appreciate her. You may all those things, and it might be completely true. But if you don't tell her, then she doesn't know.
Right.
Right. Or if you're not acting on it, so she knows, she's not going to know. And I think that's where a lot of us fail, to be frank, is I bet most men greatly, even you hear it in this question. He loves his wife.
Yeah. Every day, more and more, he said.
Yeah. But you can feel that way all you want. But if we're not taking it, yeah. But does she know? Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. To go to our songs, which is traditionally Garth Brooks, there's a song called If Tomorrow Never Comes. You guys can go listen to that one.
There you go.
That is, no, I'll pass. I can't sing it as well as Garth can. So I'll pass on that opportunity, but I appreciate it.
What's the name of the song one more time?
If Tomorrow Never Comes.
If tomorrow never comes. There you go.
Yep.
Call to action. Your other call to action, join us in the Iron Council. You got until January 7th.
Yes.
To learn more, go to orderman.com/Iron Council. Join us. It's making a difference in thousands of men's lives. And the men there, not just us, right? We can run our mouth all you want, but you're not on our team. You're on a team with like-minded men. And all those men, I feel most guys in the Iron Council, they're committed to that idea that they're there to serve one another. And so join us there, orderman.com/Iron Council. And of course, you can connect with Mr. Michler on X and Twitter at Ryan Michler. That's Michler in the last name. Anything else, sir?
Tell them where to connect with you, because you've got some great leadership lessons, short, action-packed leadership lessons that you're doing on both Facebook and Instagram. So also let them know where to connect with you.
Well, at least opinions. I'm trying to be humble there, but at Kip Sorensen on Instagram. That's KIPPSORENSEN.
You said PP, Kip.
I know. My kids always my kids and Ryan.
That's right.
Thanks a lot, Mom.
We're about the same maturity level. So
although I'm totally still in the Boy Scouts idea of the rocks in the backpack. Next time I go backpacking with someone, I'm like, that's brilliant. I love it. So.
All right, guys. Appreciate the questions. Have a great Christmas. I think by the time this is released, Christmas is already come and gone. So I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope you got some time with the family and were able to tell people you loved them. So appreciate you guys. We're rolling into the new year. I'm very excited about that. Hopefully we'll see you in the Iron Council. But until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.